There we go. Okay, and we're recording. All right, so basically this would be super casual, like we are just cooking in our house and you're here with us. And again, I see your comments, questions, anything in the chat box. If you want to pop your video on or your audio on and say what's up and ask us any questions, you can do that. And I'll try to make sure that you guys can see what's going on as Megan gets cooking. So she's basically getting everything ready right now. We also sent an email out with all the ingredients that we're going to be using for this recipe. And then my job is just going to be to help her as needed, to facilitate the conversation with you guys, and to kind of explain some of the things I've learned. So primarily what I've learned through Goddess is that I used to really look at food, especially once I became like the paleo guy over 10 years ago. Food was basically just fuel for my body. It didn't really matter what it tasted like. I would just throw anything in a skillet and throw coconut aminos and salt on it and call it a day, and that was it. So then when I worked with clients, everybody really
and throw all of it together.
Yeah, smash it all together, right? He once saw me eat sardines plus scrambled eggs plus white rice. I threw some sauerkraut in there. That used to be how I would just my fuel in, right? So then Megan comes along and starts, learning a little bit more about this world, and she was already eating quite healthy, but then just putting kind of the finishing touches on it, learning about Clovis and those kinds of things, and started helping me understand why people want sauces and condiments and all these things, and
Actually, what happened is I had to go low FODMAP for my autoimmune condition, and I cried because I couldn't have garlic.
Yeah.
And this one had a little bit of difficulty understanding why I was crying over garlic for a period of time.
I didn't understand. I was like, why just eat the food?
We've gotten more creative since then. Do you think you eat better now?
Oh yeah, you might better. Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. It's great. I mean, when she's gone, I don't eat any better. I smash things together in a skillet. That's the way that it goes. But I eat very well when she's here. So
we're going to start by getting some number of carrots. And I think you wrote a message to everyone to have their ovens to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. So as we start here, try to grab some medium-sized carrots. And how many you choose to eat just depends on how many people you have. I think I let everyone know to get 1 pound of ground beef. I'm going to make 2 stuffed burgers. Based on the way that I make them. So if you are cooking for 2, I'll show you roughly how many carrots I get out for Justin and I. We eat a good number of carrots. They are good for you and really carbs. So we eat a large amount of them and likes them a lot. So.
Yeah, ultimately carrots are maybe my favorite. But when it comes to vegetables, I'm really a fan of root vegetables and tubers. So this would be anything that's basically growing mostly on the ground. Carrots, sweet potatoes, white potatoes, those sorts of things.
One of the only vegetables I can have that doesn't make my body upset. So
yeah.
I eat a lot.
Yeah, that's true. They're also amazing. I mean, as you guys know, having the custom nutrition plans as part of this program, I do daily carrot salads with apple cider vinegar, the MCT oil. Carrots naturally remove excess estrogen from the system. They remove endotoxin from the gut, which is incredibly important and helpful. And then just thinking about roots and tubers are pretty amazing. The example I like to give people is roots and tubers are so unbelievably nutrient dense. There's so many nutrients contained within them that they are really their own ecosystem that can create and sustain life, which is really crazy to think about. So, for example, if you've ever had a potato or a sweet potato and you leave it on your counter for too long, what happens? It literally starts sprouting by itself. It has everything it needs contained within it, the amount of nutrients and trace minerals required to literally sustain life and reproduce on its own without even being in the soil. So these things are incredibly nutrient dense, and that's why I really like them. That's really the vast majority of vegetables that I eat are carrots, sweet potatoes, and white potatoes. White potatoes on occasion, sweet potatoes.
Okay, so if you're cooking along, and I know some of you will probably be saving this and doing it later, but if you're cooking along, grab yourself 5 to 6 carrots per person, and just rinse them off. I'm just rinsing mine off of any like excess dirt or like the plant matter on here. I'm not going to skin the carrots. I typically don't. If you want to do that, you can. I don't know if you have any thoughts on skinning carrots. I asked you, I just don't skin ours.
I've heard of.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we're going to take 10 or 12 carrots for the 2 of us, and I'm just going to chop them up, and I'll give you guys an idea of how I chop them. I'm not super precious about it, and like I said, I don't peel them. I'm just going to cut the tops and bottoms off and chop them into relatively similar sized pieces so they kind of cook well.
Yeah. Here we go. Let me see. I have the chat window pulled up. If you guys have any questions or anything, just let us know. And also, if you want, I can take the camera off the tripod and move it around and just kind of show you what's going on. If you guys want to see a little closer, just let me know in the chat how it looks for you, how it sounds for you, everything like that. I'm here to handle the thing and let you watch Queen over here. This will take moral support. Yes.
Yeah.
Significant moral
You
support.
can throw away the little pieces if you want.
The little bit.
Okay, so I'm gonna actually, I've got this kind of size pan here. This is, I think, an 8x8 kind of baking pan, steel. I'm gonna start just putting the pieces of carrots, and just give you guys an idea. This is kind of like roughly the size that I'm cutting the pieces into. Carrots obviously get like larger in diameter as you go up. I'm not like this fresh that I just cut it in pieces like roughly like this. They bake kind of evenly in the oven, and I'm just gonna put them directly in the pan. I'm gonna show you guys. I'm gonna melt some butter and water together, so that those can roast kind of evenly in that. And then I'm going to, optional for anybody who wants their carrots like salty, like kettle corn. I'm gonna put a little bit of honey and some stevia on our carrots. A good bit of salt, which is gonna be good. Ooh, yeah, make our electrolytes.
I'm also making some electrolytes in these fancy wine glasses because I feel like having electrolytes right now, and electrolytes are back in stock, which is awesome. So I'm gonna make some electrolytes to sit on this.
Yeah, I am actually like really obsessed with cocktail glasses because I just think they're beautiful, and I do it for the aesthetic, but we don't really drink alcohol a whole lot. So I collect them and I have them in these like open cabinets because they're really beautiful, but we just make little mocktails.
Yeah,
So
we make a lot.
use these glasses and electrolyte cocktails. Sparing out the right size can for me.
Okay.
Just fair warning to everyone as we're going through this. I'm pretty much a wing it kind of person. I grew up in the South, and I don't think my grandmother ever measured anything well. So very much.
Oh my God, what's he doing here?
Person, I'll let you guys know if I but
Did you eat?
I ate again.
Did you eat? Let's see.
Well, I just sat in 3 hours of traffic, so
Oh,
I'm opening my mail.
I think Dad thought that was Kyle's. I think Kyle just got a phone too.
Yeah, his just came in. He just called me.
Guys,
So
do us a favor and mute your microphone.
Oh, I thought he was.
I don't know how he changed the address.
Let me see.
Why did you both get a phone at the same time?
They had a trade-in deal. So
There we go. All right. Fixed it. No worries.
All right, that's gonna work. So, do you want to pull that potentially down and show the
Yeah,
carrot
let's take a look.
situation? So we have.
Sorry for the motion sickness, anybody. We're gonna move this for a second. I'll try to be nice and gentle.
Okay, so that's kind of what the carrots like running my face and hi. That's kind of what the carrots are gonna look like. So make sure that they're all, roughly in like one layer. You don't want like 2 layers of carrots because then they're gonna get wonky and they're not gonna bake super well. But as long as you've got them all kind of laid out roughly similar sizes in one layer, good to go. That's the first step.
Cool, cool.
That's good.
All right.
Okay, next thing we're gonna do is take this butter we use, grass-fed salted vegetable. I don't ever buy unsalted butter, but you could use unsalted butter just as well. We're gonna add salt to this anyway. Even when baking calls for unsalted butter, I use salted butter because I put salt on everything. So just fair warning for that. I've got a mug already over here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a tablespoon of butter and I'm going to melt it in this mug. Too much. Okay. A tablespoon of butter in this mug, and then I'm also going to add, we've got some distilled water here, so reverse osmosis water, and I'm going to add roughly twice as much water as I've got butter in here. So I would say that there's like 2 or 3 tablespoons of water in this, and I'm going to microwave this for a minute-ish. I'm going to try a minute. See, I'm trying to think of how long I usually I'm going to try a minute in the microwave. We really want to melt this and get the butter kind of incorporated into the water, and we're going to use that as a roasting liquid. So normally, if I were not concerned about, or in any recipe, if you found something that was like not concerned about fat macros at any level, what you would find is that people just coat the entire pan in butter. It ends up tasting just as buttery, and actually I think cooks more evenly the roasting does on the carrots if you cut the butter with a good bit of water. So there's like a 1-to-3-ish ratio butter to filtered water there. We're also, like I said, once that melts, we're gonna put a little bit of honey in there. This is raw honey, some good raw local honey that we get here, and then some stevia. And how much stevia you use kind of depends on what you like. I like our carrots pretty sweet. I would say that I make them definitely on the sweeter side. And I'm gonna, for the first time ever, measure how much I use because I usually just wing it. And I'll let you guys know. I think it's gonna be about, I'm gonna say half a tablespoon, which I think is a lot. I'm gonna guess that's about how much it is that I use. You may want to use less or not at all. And that's fine. This is a really great way to make something like that already has some degree of sweetness. Like it works really well with carrots. It works really well with sweet potatoes. To take something and roast the vegetables with this kind of like fat to water ratio, roasts really nicely, tastes really buttery. And then on top of that, to add the sweetness of the honey and the stevia. The reason I add just a touch of honey with this stevia is that it cuts that kind of like stevia aftertaste that sometimes happens when you use like pure liquid stevia. I'm sure Justin has already told you guys this too, but you want to make sure that when you're getting liquid stevia or any stevia product, that you make sure that what you're getting is in fact just plain stevia and not xylitol or sugar alcohol or something else that's going to mess your gut up. Those sugar alcohols mess me up real bad in particular. We don't like it. But yeah, this kind of way of roasting vegetables, especially sweeter vegetables, so sweet potatoes or carrots, is really, really good. And it's very much got that like Thanksgiving-y, like sweet on sweet kind of root vegetable vibe. You could, even if you like it, you could add a little bit of like nutmeg or allspice or cinnamon into this mixture in your mug, and that would be really good too. Okay, so I'm gonna put just like a dab of raw honey in here, like just that much, like that's probably a 1/4 teaspoon or less. That's life. And we're gonna get a measuring screw out.
Measuring stevia for the first
Let's
time.
see. It might be less than half a tablespoon actually. No, I guess it is. It's gonna be about half a tablespoon that I'm gonna use. I would say if you're unsure of how much to use, I would try 1 teaspoon for this go round. Try it and see how much you like it. If you are like, I really, really like sweet things, go with half a tablespoon if you want to err on the sweet side. But I would say that I make our carrots pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Half a tablespoon of pure liquid stevia is a good bet. So we're warning the sweetness on there. Okay.
Amazing.
Now, next step is I'm just going to take this liquid, which now looks like, can you see it? It's like kind of buttery. I just took a fork and just whisked it around, and I'm going to just pour this around, spill some on the floor, around all of the carrots. Cool. And like I said, the benefit of this too, like the nice part of this is we're getting a lot of like liquid. They're actually standing in a couple centimeters of liquid, which is going to really impact the roasting. If you roast them in pure fat of any kind, pure butter or pure coconut oil or anything like that, the liquid actually like reduces to the point where they get very sticky and actually like a little bit burnt sometimes, and they actually roast quite a bit better if you incorporate some water in there. So next thing I'm going to do before I put them into the oven is just really liberally salt these guys. Boom, ready to go.
Amazing.
Okay, so now these are going to go in the oven at 400. We're doing this first because these have to roast for about half an hour. First piece. We're done with that part.
Amazing.
Okay, now I'm going to start prepping some other stuff, and you can talk about carrots or whatever.
Okay, cool. Let me put this back in the tripod. Again, I'm sorry for the motion sickness, everybody. We'll do the best we can. We don't have a professional studio here.
We do have that thing upstairs. I'm just not using it.
What thing?
Yeah, the thing that I'll show you later.
Oh,
The thing
okay.
that I was playing around with.
We got a cooler tripod, I guess, that I'm aware of. Yeah, so this is really cool. And the thing that I like about the way that Megan cooks, as you guys can see, is this is what I always tell you guys about food being good for you, poison being bad for you, right? Assuming that you have a countertop that looks like this in terms of the foods that are on top of it, right? There's nothing here that's not food, right? So she gets to play around with these ingredients and say, okay, maybe you can use a half a tablespoon of stevia. Maybe you can use a dab of raw honey, or maybe you prefer to use more raw honey and you don't like the taste of stevia, so you use a little bit of monk fruit or something like that. And then with these sauces that she makes, I've seen her make everything from, I think tonight you're gonna do some kind of mustard sauce,
I'm
is
gonna
that
make
right?
a mustard cream sauce for the burgers, and I also sent out an optional ketchup. We don't have any here. I think I ordered some, but it didn't arrive. But the mustard cream sauce is really amazing. If you don't like mustard, a good like Paleo Valley or not Paleo Valley, Primal Kitchen
Yeah.
ketchup is really good. But yeah, we make sauces all the time. If you are wanting to make a sauce and don't know how, it's actually quite a bit easier to make restaurant quality sauces than you think. Just take anything that you like the flavor of, double it in quantity compared to what you would put on like a piece of meat. So if you were cooking with like garlic cloves and cilantro, for example, like add 2 to 3 times as many garlic cloves and cilantro as you would normally put on a piece of meat as like a hefty amount of spices, and then add some amount of like fat and or water into the mixture, roast them, cook them, saute them however you normally would, put them in a blender and blend them up, and you have a wonderful sauce. The key to making an amazing sauce is just putting stuff in a blender. That's it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's amazing what with a high quality blender you can make a sauce out of anything. And every sauce that I make is ultimately just like herbs, vegetables, and some kind of oil, heated, cooked through, and then or roasted, and then put into a blender. We could even make like mashed carrots that way, which are really incredible, or like a carrot based like a carrot curry sauce, which is amazing. You roast some carrots, add some curry powder in there, a little bit of light coconut milk, and then maybe a little bit of ghee, and that is a phenomenal sauce. Blend it up, and it's so good.
Amazing. So what's next on your list of preparation?
Besides down on this.
Yeah.
Okay. Next thing we're going to do is prep the burgers. And we're going to prep the burgers, and then we're going to also prepare the shrimp, which I guess you already deveined, right?
Yep.
Cool. So I think on the list that I sent out, I called for some much smaller shrimp than what we have here. I don't know if this is like, I can probably tell this.
Yeah.
These guys are bigger, and this is what came from the Instacart.
Yeah, sometimes if you guys have used Instacart in the past, every now and then, if the store doesn't have the exact thing that you requested, they'll bring you a replacement that they think is close to that one. So these actually came frozen with shells on and needed to be, so I defrosted them, I peeled the shells off, I deveined them, and then now that's what we're working with. But any kind of shrimp you can do this with.
Yeah, I'll explain kind of like the time difference. Shrimp are easy too, because if you're not familiar with cooking shrimp, I really love them as an inexpensive surf and turf. Shellfish are just so nutrient dense. We really like to eat shrimp a lot. They're relatively inexpensive compared to something like lobster or even like sea scallops, and they're super easy to cook. When you look at them, you can really tell just by the way that they look how done they are and when you need to flip them. So I'll explain that to you guys when we're doing this. But yeah, I think that there's something to be said for taking, especially when you're changing your food and changing what you're eating. Like, I've always been a foodie, but when I got really, really deep into super, super healthy food and had to switch my mindset from feeling like I was losing a bunch of things into feeling like I was treating my body with the foods that were really going to make me feel good and make me happy, and try to find a way to work that into my schedule of like foodiness. I really spent a lot of time preparing food in a way that would feel like exceptionally decadent, because what I wanted was to make sure that I just didn't want to feel emotionally like I was like missing out on a lot of things. So it's important, I think, to make things feel and taste amazing, and it's really not that difficult to do. So like, for example, this mustard cream sauce that we're going to make, I'll show you guys in a minute, is really literally just mustard and light coconut milk. You could use almond milk, you can use literally any kind of like anything that's in the Clovis approved group, but this is just literally coconut and water. And we're going to blend these, and it's going to make a really phenomenal sauce that takes literally no time. And compared to just eating like plain ground beef, we're going to cook something that's incredibly easy. It's a stuffed burger with a slice of onion in the middle. If you don't like onion, you don't have to use that. You can make it without the stuffing on the inside. And then we're going to make a Dijon cream sauce, which just tastes like amazing. You can also do ketchup on top. You can do ketchup in addition, you can do ketchup instead. But there are just a million little ways that you can take the things that taste really amazing to you and use them on the foods that are good for you. The shrimp is going to be amazing. By the end, we're just going to do a couple of little quick things. It's amazing, like taking shrimp from being this thing like, oh, I have to eat shellfish, I need to get this in my diet, and turning it into something that tastes really incredible with a little like garlic, paprika. We're going to put some cilantro and lime on top, and it's going to taste like you just bought fresh prawns off the coast of Mexico, and it's amazing.
Yeah, this is amazing too, because since you guys, as part of this program, you have your custom nutrition plan, you have the closest foods list, and basically what we're dealing with is a meal made up almost entirely of those super proteins on page 1 of your approved foods list, right? So we have grass-fed ground beef. This is actually particularly high quality beef. We're getting this from a local regenerative farm. We have a whole chest freezer full of it. If you guys have the How I Stock My Fridge bonus, if you have that included in your program, then you guys saw that we have a big chest freezer. That all comes from a local farm here just outside of Austin, Texas. So we're really dealing with an incredibly nutrient dense meal here between the shellfish, which are unbelievably nutrient dense, the red meat, which is unbelievably nutrient dense, and then the carrots as well, which carrots, again, are arguably my favorite vegetable on earth. So this is really an incredible combination of foods that she's put together here. The other thing to remember is if you guys, many of you are what we call Clovis OGs. You've been around Clovis for a long time, so you've seen different versions of the approved foods list come and go. You've heard me in the past really try to advocate for specific brands. I've really thrown that out the window. There have been approved foods lists where we've had different types of brands that make almond butter or almond milk or coconut milk or whatever. And now there are just so many brands out there, and most of them are really trash. So it's just a scenario now where I have you guys on the back end of that approved foods list trying to tell you how to read ingredients, right? So if we take a look at this is light coconut milk, and we look at that ingredients list, we see purified water, organic coconut, and organic guar gum. Now, guar gum is just basically a dietary fiber. This is an emulsifier. So all that's happening is this is making it have a certain consistency and making the texture a specific way. That's really what emulsifiers do. For instance, like the gum arabic and the superfood powder just makes it so that if you were to put a scoop of superfood into water, then without an emulsifier, it's just all going to settle straight down to the bottom, and you can blend it up really well. And then as soon as you remove the blender from the water, it's going to settle down straight to the bottom. So for that kind of texture, mouthfeel, the thing you're going for, there are some of these additives that are acceptable in small amounts, where you have things like all these different almond milk brands are coming out with like carrageenan gum and like carrageenan, and there's all sorts of these really nasty emulsifiers that I just wasn't interested in going through all of these brands really. So you have these canned coconut milks seem to be the best. And then you have brands, if you're looking for something like almond milk, the cleanest brand on planet Earth is called Malk. It's M-A-L-K. It's milk spelled with an A. So Malk is literally just almonds, water, and I think they have sea salt in their ingredients. So ultimately, better than me trying to point out to you which brand is better and what brand you have in your grocery store, and you live in Canada or America, and what can you get? It's really hard to go through different types of brands. So I really just like to equip you guys with the tools you need to be able to read ingredients labels the same way that I do.
Something that we normally do, that we're out of right now, here, something that I normally do, is make homemade almond milk. If you guys are interested in that, I can show you how to do it on the next one. It's very simple.
Yeah.
It is about a 1-to-4 ratio of softened blanched almonds to distilled water. So what I'll do is I'll take 1 cup of blanched almonds that are, I get them slivered because I think it helps a little bit, but blanched almonds of any kind, that means they have been roasted and the skin's removed, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I soak that in some warm filtered water for about 30 minutes, drain all the water out, and then put the almonds and 4 times the volume. So in this case, 1 cup of almonds, 4 cups of distilled filtered water in our Vitamix, turn it on for 30 to 60 seconds, let it blend, and then pour it through this filter bag that I'll show you guys. I can send a link if someone's interested in making their own. And that's literally it. It takes me, I mean, a total of, aside from the amount of time it takes for the almonds to chill in their water, it's like 5 active minutes of doing.
Yeah.
So it's really easy to do. I just drank all this morning.
That's a really good idea. We should do that going forward, because it's also an amazing experience for you to have. If you're familiar with putting almond milk in your coffee or something like that.
Okay, hold on.
Yep.
Because people need to prep this.
Sure.
Put some wax paper down and grab 1 pound of ground beef for every 2 burgers that you want to make. And we're going to separate the ground beef into quarter pounds, and we're going to start creating patties. And then I'll show you how to stuff burgers. Okay.
Cool, amazing. Yeah, so the almond milk experiment would be really fun for you guys. The reason I say that is because if you've never taken a sip of homemade almond milk, you have no idea what almond milk tastes like. And this is where you start to realize things you're buying in grocery stores are not always what they tell you that they are.
Yes.
There are very few almonds inside of most almond milks, again, with the exception of that brand Malt, if you can get that in your area. It's just crazy. I took a sip of her almond milk that she created homemade, and I was like, wow, apparently I've never tried almond milk in my entire life, because this is completely different. It's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, it tastes like almonds, huh?
Tastes like almonds, yeah. It tastes like almond water.
Exactly like you're drinking almonds.
Creamy almond water.
Yep. Yeah, and you can also, a lot of times I'll make almond creamer too, if you guys like that, because I'll sometimes buy nut pods. Nut pods are like one of my favorite brands for almond creamer. Like when I'm in a pinch, that's what I'll buy. There's pretty minimal additives in nut pods. It's made of coconut and almond, and it tastes really good. But I like to try and make it at home as much as I can. And so I'll make creamer a lot of the time, because I don't actually use that much. I don't actually need milk very often, but I put creamer in my superfood cacao in the morning. So when I'm making that, sometimes I'll just half the water, and it essentially makes the exact same thing. It just makes almond creamer, and then it's a little bit thicker. And putting that in your coffee or in your cacao, hot chocolate, in your tea, whatever you like to make in the morning is really good. Okay. Now I have 4 roughly even
Coming back down.
burger patties here, ready to go. Cool. All right, and I have prepped. Oh, hey, I can see myself. That's cool. I have prepped these guys, these little chunks of white onion. So you want the onion to be a decent bit smaller than the circumference of your burger patty, because these are going to shrink up a little bit while they're cooking. So just fair warning. That's the smaller of the 2 slices that I created, and now the other one is going to go right here. So you want them to have a really good amount of burger patty, just kind of like surrounding the piece of onion there that you're gonna be putting in. If you don't like onions, or if you would like something else, you're welcome to put like some other kind of herbs in here, whatever you like. I like to put the onion in here totally raw, because the onion will soften and become a little bit, just like I would say slightly cooked, like al dente kind of vibes by the time it's finished, which I like. I like for there to still be a little bit of crunch to the onion. If you prefer your onion to be like caramelized or totally cooked, you can cook the onion first, and then you can either cook it in a slice, or you can caramelize some onions and put them in the center. Either way, all's good, whatever you prefer. I'm going to put these in here like this. It also makes everything significantly easier because it is very simple. I just cut a slice, put it in the middle, and then put the other quarter-pound patty on top. So these each are 1/4 pound burger patties that are laid out very, very thin. And you want them to be pretty thin if you're stuffing the burger, because we want them to cook, at a reasonable pace. We're going to use a temperature gauge as I'm cooking these here today. If you don't have them, I will try to give you guys an idea of how long to cook your burger. But with the ground meat, especially when it's with a stuffed burger like this, I try to use a food thermometer as much as I can, because often when I think it's done, I'll take the temperature and it's like not quite done. So food safety.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, second one up here. The burgers and the shrimp cook quite fast.
Mhm.
I would say the burgers probably take a total of like 10 minutes to cook, and the shrimp are gonna, even these larger ones are gonna take less than that. The shrimp are probably gonna cook while we're letting the burgers rest, because the burgers are gonna need to rest for about 5 minutes. So we're probably gonna cook the burgers first, put the shrimp on right before they come off. So the shrimp have an opportunity 5 to 7 minutes to cook. And we'll keep an eye out for those. The burgers take like maximum, I'd say 10, 12 minutes, depending on how they do. This is another thing, like this is incredibly simple. Prepping the carrots takes, you guys saw me do it, less than 5 minutes. They sit in the oven. A lot of times if I have something already prepped as far as meat goes, we'll go on a walk while they roast. And then the rest of this stuff is gonna take 10 minutes total to cook.
Yeah, so you're really looking at, how long would you say your preparation time is for all of this?
I mean, the whole thing will be done inside of 40 minutes.
40 minutes, okay, cool. Yeah, not bad at all.
And then you'll clean up the dishes after.
And then I clean up the dishes. Yes, that's true. I always clean up the kitchen and clean up the dishes. That's my job because I get to eat all this delicious food that Megan makes for me, which is wonderful. Again, if you guys have any questions or anything, just let us know in the comments. Also, there's a lot of you that have access to this that aren't here. So I'm gonna go ahead, glad this is recording. We'll put this up as a recording so you can see this in the future. Take a look at the recipe and all those things. If you're following along, great. If you want to follow along later, that's awesome as well.
Okay, I'm gonna put some garlic powder on top of these burgers. Just FYI for you guys.
I'll come back down so you guys can see. And again, what I love about Megan's approach here is she eyeballs everything and she's really good at it.
I mean, just put like a thin layer. I think most people know how to apply like garlic powder to stuff. If you have questions on specifically how much garlic powder and you'd like me to measure it, let me know. But I think most people are familiar with like just put a light coating on there, whatever feels right to you. And then I put a little bit of sea salt on there, some Redmond sea salt, and then I'm also going to use a little bit of pepper. I'm not really a huge fan of black pepper, but I think on red meat it brings out some degree of like I don't know, the umami kind of like bloodiness going on there. That's good. So we like a little bit of that. I also have this white pepper. I don't really know what the difference is between black pepper and white pepper. And I think I'm usually pretty like palate savvy, but I don't know that there's actually anybody in here has strong opinions on black versus white pepper. I would love to hear it. Sometimes I just put both on because I'm not really sure which one's better, but in my mind, I think the white pepper should be like less aggressive. It should be like a subtler version, but I don't know that that's actually true. I think I might have made that up in my head.
I have no idea.
Okay, so we're gonna try and layer the cooking of these guys in such a way where they kind of like cook while the other ones are doing their thing. So let me check on the timer for what we got here. 17 minutes for the carrots. Okay. So
Bugs Bunny over here, getting it.
I forgot to chop this one, so I'm just gonna eat it. All right. We're gonna wait until the carrots get down to about 10 minutes left before we put the burgers on. So we've got about 7 minutes that you can Q&A, answer questions, etc.
Cool.
And I will start to do some prep. I'll make the mustard sauce, and yeah.
Susanna knows. She said not much of a difference. White pepper is for aesthetics. Interesting.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it does taste incredibly
I
similar.
bought it thinking that it was going to be some kind of different that I'd be able to discern.
Right.
I absolutely cannot. But sometimes I'll be like, I'm going to put white pepper on this because I feel
Fancy.
extremely fancy to do that.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to want to see you make this mustard sauce, I feel like, as well. So we'll want to walk them through that.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to walk through it while the other stuff was cooking, but since we have time, we'll do it now.
Sure.
All right. I'm going to move these over here for the moment.
Okay.
By the way, I'm going to cook these burgers in a pan. My mouth is full of carrot now. Sorry, guys. That was not my most exciting decision. All right. We're going to cook these burgers in a pan. If you want to grill your burgers, that's fine. We just don't have a grill here. So I'm going to cook them in a pan. These are both ceramic pans. Have you talked to them about like cookware and pans and things like that?
A bit in the past I have in terms of Teflon. Most nonstick cookware is pretty toxic. We have an old Clovis podcast called Everything in Your House is Killing You, where we talk about the different types of pans and things like that, the different chemicals and all that. And also most of the kitchen utensils that we use are silicone for that same reason, because we don't want to melt plastics into our food. So if you're dealing with spatulas and things of that nature, make sure you're getting silicone and not plastic.
Yeah, we'll show you guys as I go over to the cooktop how we're cooking. But both of those pans that I'm going to use for both the shrimp and the burgers are ceramic pans. We also have some cast iron stuff and some stainless steel stuff. Personally, I find that the stainless steel stuff just, sticks like a motherfucker. Can I?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I swear all the time.
So I understand why Teflon was invented, why it's so appealing to people, because like I find the stainless steel stuff really difficult to use.
Yeah.
But the ceramic coating stuff seems to be really excellent. It works really well. I also like cast iron things, but more for steaks. For burgers, they can fall apart a little bit.
Yeah, the other thing I find as well with stainless steel in my experiments with cooking over the years, as I've really dug into ingredients, things like that, I was excited about stainless steel in terms of it just being kind of a cleaner cook surface. But what ends up happening is the sticking and such like that with stainless steel is so bad that you have to cook at extremely high heats and use a ton of oil or butter or ghee or whatever. So if you're somebody who's trying to operate inside of some kind of fat macro and you're trying to use stainless steel to cook, it's likely that you're going to sail over that fat macro, just making stainless steel usable.
Yeah, that's very true. And it's just like obnoxious to deal with.
Yeah.
Okay. let's make the sauce.
Okay. I'm just following you around. You have your own personal camera down here. It's pretty cool. You have a cooking show. Cooking with Megan.
All right. Next thing that we have here, I'm just gonna whisk this, guys, with like a fork.
Okay.
Because it's not necessary to have anything more than that.
You can use a pretty
I've got-
crystal glass to
I've
make
got-
this mustard.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah.
It's very fancy.
yeah. I mean, if we're not out here doing it for the aesthetic, guys, what are we doing with our lives?
Right?
That's the truth.
Have fun with your
And you
kitchen,
know what?
ladies and gentlemen. Be
In-
fancy.
In honor of that statement, I'm actually gonna use this little whisk because I never use this. This is like a little, see this little
It's a
guy?
cute little whisk. I like it.
It's pretty cute. It's narrow and I never use it, so we're gonna do it today. This is the mustard that I like the most.
That is great.
Fun story. Justin and I actually found this mustard in France. This is I think it's pronounced Maille. I don't know. My French is quite rusty, but we found this in France at a corner store, at a little bodega in south of France. And I was like, we were eating, there was not a lot to eat where we were for breakfast that was not super gluten heavy. And some people can do gluten and grains in Europe better than they can here. Me personally, no.
Nope.
And I
Didn't
think,
go well.
I think that the gluten is getting worse because I used to be able to eat more grains in Europe than I can now. So globalization, yay. But we got there and I was making burgers most mornings for breakfast because it was like burgers, or if we go out, it's just croissants. So we found this mustard at this tiny little store and I was like, this is the best mustard. This is incredible. We gotta eat so much of this mustard while we're here because we are never gonna find this anywhere ever again. We're never gonna find this. We're in like a little town in France, this super French mustard. We're never gonna find this again. We came home and I went to our regular Whole Foods here and found it immediately. I was like, I gotta find a dupe for this mustard. I go, it's right there. I'm like, this cannot be the same thing. Apparently, I just never noticed it before, but this mustard is very famous and is worldwide. And now I'm more surprised that it was in a tiny shop in France
Yeah.
than I am that it's here because it's apparently everywhere. Like Sprouts has it. So if you like a well ground mustard, like this one is fantastic. I'm just gonna put 2 solid like heaping tablespoons, just using a regular soup spoon kind of thing, in here, and then measure this since I never measured. And then I'm going to take this light coconut milk. By the way, light coconut milk makes a huge caloric and fat macro difference relative to regular coconut milk.
Huge
Regular
difference.
coconut milk has 5 to 6 times the fat in it. It's one of the biggest like light to regular changes you can possibly make. It is also obviously less dense because it is less fatty, but it works just as well for things like this. So I'm using 2, this is like a 1-to-1 ratio thus far, and I usually just wing it. I think this is gonna work. The reason I like to make this into a mustard cream sauce is 1, because the little hint of coconut I think is really nice. And 2, because I think mustard by itself is like pretty thick and less aesthetically pleasing. And also I feel like I prefer sauces to be like a lighter consistency. So I'm doing about 2 tablespoons of mustard and 3 tablespoons of light coconut milk. You can change the level of light coconut milk that you use according to just how you like the texture, because that's essentially what we're choosing here. And now that is all. I'm gonna add a little bit of sea salt to this.
Okay.
And it's literally that simple. This is the way that I make our mustard cream sauce. And it sounds like it's significantly more difficult than it is. It is a very easy way to like elevate something that is super simple, but it tastes incredible. It is mustardy and it is spicy and it is the best tasting sauce ever. Okay, and we're almost down to 10 minutes, so we are perfect time. I'm going to heat up this pan. Perfect.
Great.
Okay. The other benefit of, kind of the opposite of what you were saying, the benefit of using these pans, which are ceramic, is that I can use, to cook these shrimp, I'll probably use half a tablespoon of butter and most of it will stay on the pan. So there's, a very, very small amount of butter that's ending up, not that butter's bad for you, but if you're watching your fat macros, like
Right, exactly.
you're ending up with a very small amount of oil on your shrimp.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things I see in terms of fat macronutrients for people sailing over is the fats that they use to cook, whether it's olive oil, avocado oil, butter, ghee, whatever, can just be the concept of eyeballing that sails over pretty quickly. I mean, 1 tablespoon of butter is 14 grams of fat, right? So if you look at that comparatively to your macro, for most people, that's going to be, probably 10 to 15%, actually probably even more than 15% of your daily fat macro. So you can sail over pretty quickly by throwing too much butter in a pan.
All right, next thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna prep this shrimp. I'm gonna take this lime right here and just chop it in half. We're just gonna use this. We're gonna squeeze this on top of the shrimp once we're done. And then I'm just gonna take a few sprigs of this cilantro. It's gonna be something that goes on top. If you chose to use parsley instead, because you prefer parsley, if you're one of those people where you're like, cilantro tastes like soap, that's fine. You can't eat here, but you can eat at your home with parsley. And we're just gonna chop this like super roughly on top. I love cilantro.
Yeah.
I am really grateful that I did not get that gene. My brother did. That's like significant bummer. Think about it. It's like the way that people react when someone says, I don't want to eat chocolate. You're like, how do you live without chocolate? I think I could live without chocolate more easily than I could live without cilantro.
Wow.
Almost everything. Okay, that pan is ready to go. Once your pan is heated on high for a few minutes and you feel like it is in a good place to put something on, we're going to use, again, the spatula, which is silicone. And we're going to take these burger patties and we're going to flip them spice side down, and then we're going to spice the side that's up. So,
All right.
cool.
Like pancakes.
All right. Grab our little bit of garlic out of here. Salt. Black pepper. I'm putting black pepper only.
There you go. Now that we know.
Now that we know it's for aesthetics only,
You're right.
I've been played. Cool.
Crushing it, love. Crushing it.
Now we're going to take a little bit of this butter, again, half a tablespoon maybe. We're going to melt it in this larger pan here, over medium. I'm glad these burners are doing with me today. Sometimes this can give each other.
Yeah. Cooperating for the Zoom call.
All right.
All right. So I guess last thing is these shrimps, right?
Last thing is the shrimp. So we are 1 minute into the burger, 7 minutes left on the carrots. The carrots are so like non-fussy in a way that I really appreciate. So the carrots, if you like your carrots to be more cooked, can go for longer. I mean, I roast them for 30 minutes at 400 most of the time, but if they end up being 45 minutes, they're still good. When you take them out, if they're a little early, 25 minutes, also still good. I think 30 to 35 is kind of the sweet spot for me personally. But you can leave them in a little longer if you get distracted, or if your food's running a little behind, you can leave them in for another 5-10 minutes and they're just going to be like a little bit softer. The fact that we put water in that butter mixture is going to improve the not only just like the even roasting of the whole thing, but also their ability to hang out in there and not get too overcooked, because that substance, that saucy substance, is not going to reduce quite as much as it would if you were just dealing with butter and honey only. Okay. This is literally the first time I've ever explained how I cook to anyone.
I love it. You're doing great. It's excellent.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, she's very, very intuitive with the cooking. It's pretty amazing to watch. And she made the transition really quickly. That's the thing, is I guess a good question for you, Megan, would be how different is this in terms of challenge versus using more conventional, ingredients that were pretty toxic?
Not really. I think maybe easier. I think more natural ingredients behave more similarly. They behave more consistently, I think, than a lot of other types of ingredients. And I don't know. I think I also just get a lot out of the creative puzzle of trying to incorporate things that previously would have been something I wouldn't think of, in order to try and duplicate something that I would have made before with bread or grains or something.
Right.
Something really, really delicious. Plus, I think if you go out, I'm a big lover of fine dining. When you go out to places that do fine dining, the vast majority of what you eat there is stuff that's good for you.
Yeah. Real
Right.
foods.
Aside from the oils they cook in and like, maybe sometimes there's like dairy and stuff in there, but the majority of what you eat in a fine dining establishment is actually like real food. So replicating that and reducing some of the little sneaky things like the oils into something that is healthier for you is like very easy to do.
Yeah, that's really what I found too. Is a lot of people would come into Clovis who said, "Well, I really like to cook," or things like this, and they're concerned about that when they come into Clovis, and then lo and behold, we find out that all the things that they're cooking with are pre-made things from the store, whether it's some kind of condiment or some kind of salad dressing or like a hamburger helper or some kind of mix of breadcrumbs or something like that have all sorts of nasty ingredients in there. Is come to find out that a lot of people think that they're cooking and making things from scratch, and they're absolutely not. They're just cooking with a ton of highly processed junk foods. And now you're in a situation where when you're using real foods like this, like you've seen Megan create today, you actually are having more of like an old school, the way your great grandmother would have cooked, with just 100% real foods, right? And it's such a game changer in terms of taste, not only taste, but of course a game changer in your health and just making you feel amazing. I mean, look at this right here. Like this is such a nutrient dense meal. It's not even funny. There's probably more nutrients in this meal than most Americans eating a standard American diet would get in an entire week of eating their food. And no joke, I'm telling you right now, like this food probably has more nutrients than an entire week of a standard American diet.
Here's what we're gonna do for the shrimp. We're gonna put a good bit. This is probably half a tablespoon of paprika. I'm just putting it in my hand right here, and I'm gonna take a pinch at a time and just put it on top of the shrimp. So you can just do whatever amount feels good to you. If you like something spicy, you can also add some cayenne pepper to this. Can be really good. Just a very small amount. I would do like a 1 to 10 ratio of cayenne to paprika. So I'm just going to go and do a little bit of paprika on each of these shrimp. And then I'm going to put a little garlic powder on top of these guys, a little salt, and then the cilantro and the lime is going to go at the end once we've taken them off the heat. And I didn't totally use the whole amount, which is fine. Draw the rest. I'm gonna like toss the rest. Just a little bit of paprika here. So
That
great.
looks delicious. Looks so good.
That's there. I'm gonna do a little bit of garlic right now, a little garlic powder. You can also use, if you like, to cut up your own garlic, you can do that. For ease during this, I just decided to do garlic powder. These are just garlic granules, organic garlic granules. They are like real garlic. If you prefer to take some garlic and just really like smash it up and grate it up, you can also just do your own fresh garlic on top, and that'll also taste great. Okay, a little bit of salt on top of each of these guys, and we're gonna put the burgers. Wow. These are also just an incredibly healthy and cost-effective way to do surf and turf. Like our burgers that we get from the farm that we buy them from, all of our beef from that cow is $8 a pound. So it's grass-fed, pasture-raised, grass-finished, organic beef. It's $8 a pound. So all of our steaks, all of our bones, all of our ground beef, everything averages out at $8 a pound. And so if you looked at how much you would pay for steak, like relatively speaking, I mean, if you weighed it out and kind of evened out the average, like our ground beef probably cost us $5-6 a pound.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, the steaks would be a little bit more, and then the frozen shrimp are relatively inexpensive as well.
Yeah, and I know for sure because it always baffles me when we're in a Whole Foods. Pasture raised, like grass-fed pasture raised steak, like something like a fillet in Whole Foods is usually $31 a pound. So it's pretty crazy. If you can find a local farm that does regenerative agriculture or 100% grass-fed, grass-finished, trying to get your hands on either a quarter cow or half a cow. Sometimes they'll let you do smaller packages, or maybe you can just buy like 60 pounds of grass-fed ground beef and that's it. Different farms have different packages. Some farms will require that you actually buy a quarter cow, or you buy a half cow, or buy a whole cow. So I used to do this with my dad. We would basically split a cow, or sometimes I would buy a quarter cow, my mom would buy a quarter cow, my dad would have a half cow, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, so take a look at these shrimp. They're starting to curl up into kind of a U shape here. That's how you know they're ready to flip. You can see that they're starting to get like whiter along the sides. That opaque color is starting to work up the sides of the shrimp, and a lot of them are starting to curl into more of a U shape, or that U shape. This one off. So that means they are ready to flip over. I'm gonna trim this up on high, so you wanna flash the outside and get them really crispy. Great, these probably have another 3 minutes, maybe 2 minutes. And we are close, we're at 157 degrees on these. We want the burgers to get to 165 degrees. For ground beef, that's like a safe medium temperature. There should still be some pink on the inside. It'll be nice and juicy, but it'll be safely cooked. All the ground beef will be safely cooked and really good.
Great.
Okay, excellent. So, these here, what I'm gonna do is cut a surface for the burgers to rest on. Over here. I half a carrot. Okay,
Little snack.
that is ready. Make sure this one's looking good too. Great. So these burgers are in good shape.
Okay.
That was our timer. If you guys put it to the carrots, that just went off. I'm gonna let the burgers rest there for a minute. And what else? The carrots are done. We're almost finished with everything else. I'm gonna finish everything else before I take the carrots out. Those burgers should rest for at least 5 minutes before you cut into them. 3 to 5 minutes is good. They can hang out here for 5 to 10 if they need to. And the shrimp are almost done. Yay! So look at this. You see they're all like curling into this nice little like C shape. All of them won't be exactly the same size. In a perfect world, we don't want any of them curling up like super too tightly to where they're really like a full like forming of like tighter than an O. But as they're kind of like forming in here, we see they're all tightening up into this nice little U C shape, and they're all totally opaque. I know these guys are ready to go. And I might have a more sophisticated set of language to explain shrimp doneness than I do. But
Yeah.
this is when I look at them, I'm like, these guys are ready.
Yeah, I have a feeling that we have some good cooks in here. I'm pretty sure. I want to check. There's one comment over there I want to read, but I'm sticking with the shrimp for the moment.
The shrimp are good, so I'm gonna start taking things off. If you want to go check the comments.
Those are good. Okay.
I'm just gonna take the carrots out of the oven and put them up here, to hang out, and then I take the shrimp off.
I'm going to travel for a minute, ladies and gentlemen. Mind the motion sickness. Oh, okay. Great question. Did you put anything in the pan with the burgers?
No, burgers don't need to be cooked with oil because they are so fatty that they do not require any. So I put the burgers straight down on a ceramic surface with no oil and just cook them in their own fat. You want to make sure that when you put the burgers down, you don't move them. You heat the pan first. You want the pan to be quite hot before you put them down. So you heat the pan on high, medium high, depending on how hot your burner gets. This is a good example of like high to medium high in terms of like, can you zoom in on it? Like how much, what I would want the burner to be doing as I'm prepping the pan. And I would leave the pan on that kind of burner at high to medium high for 2 to 3 minutes to make sure that the pan is nice and hot, and then lay the burgers down. They should sear a lot immediately as soon as they hit the surface, and you do not want to move them until you flip them. So these burgers flipped at about 5 minutes. 5 minutes on the first side, flip them over, and then cook them until they're 165 degrees. For these burgers, that ended up being like 11 minutes total. It would be less if they were not stuffed burgers. They would cook a little bit slower because there's an onion in the center, obviously. So this was about 11 minutes. If these were half-pound burgers without the onion in the center, I would expect them to be more like 8 minutes to get to 165 on our oven.
Yeah, also worth noting too, the idea of not flipping those burgers before they're ready to be flipped, or not moving the burgers before they're ready to be flipped. The reason being is that you're usually dealing with either some kind of frozen beef that has been defrosted, but either way, it's probably coming from the refrigerator and pretty cold. So what's going to happen is if you throw that on a really hot skillet and try to move it immediately, you're going to get some stickiness to it. So you have to actually let the beef start to cook and let some of those fats start to melt and create its own, for the burgers to literally create their own grease. And then by the time you're ready to flip those burgers, you're not gonna have any sticking situation or anything like that. But it's quite interesting. If you throw it down and try to move it immediately, you'll get some stickiness.
Okay, so the shrimp are on the plate now. What I'm gonna do is take these little lime guys, and I'm gonna squeeze
It's less than the juice of half a lime on each one. Just get that liminess really good there. Beautiful. And I've already got the cilantro on this side. I'm gonna take this cilantro and I'm gonna just dust that guy there on top.
Put a little dusting.
Perfect. Okay, great. Now what we want to do with the burger on here as well. Okay, so now we're gonna put this mustard cream sauce down, and I'm gonna try my very best chopped champion impression here and do like a spoon push.
Oh yeah, Iron Chef over here.
Yeah, don't say that because it's a spoon push we really should. All right, so what I do below the burger is just put some of this like cream sauce down, a little spoonful of that, and then just do a little bit of that guy. Ooh, look, that looks pretty good.
Came out great. Look at
That
that.
looks like something.
Chef.
Okay, cool. And I need a
This is looking pretty delicious, everybody. This is crazy.
ready to go. I'm
Wow.
gonna put this guy on top, and then oops.
I mean, you're about to impress your family, everybody. You start cooking like this. Look at that.
It really like it looks fancy, but it doesn't. You guys saw it. Like it doesn't take that much. You know, there's
Yeah.
not that much to it. And then I'm gonna put these carrots just in plate. These are just really. Actually, these. This spoon will work better. Maybe. I feel like I don't have quite the right. You need to get a different utensil.
We need a different carrot utensil.
I don't have quite the right carrot utensil. So yeah, I'm gonna cook, or I'm gonna just place these on this. And what's great about the honey too, having a little bit of honey in here, and again, you guys saw it's like, I mean, a quarter teaspoon of honey, like amongst all these carrots, it's almost negligible. It does make them kind of sticky, like between the natural sugars and the carrot and the little bit of honey. It does create like a stickiness that I find really satisfying.
Same, yeah, and I don't know based on the the quality of the video on something like a Zoom call, we have pretty high internet, but hopefully you guys can see is it's just you can just see this kind of honey looking glaze on the carrot, and it's so delicious. Like these carrots, she makes these carrots for me all the time, and they're one of my favorite foods at this point. They're just delicious. But I mean, just look at this entire meal.
That's it.
And this is one of the most nutrient dense meals you could possibly imagine. And like I said, if you compare this to a standard American diet, just with this right here, you are arguably getting more nutrients in this one meal than someone on a standard American diet may get possibly in an entire week. This is crazy. And if all of your meals look like this is really the concept I discussed with you guys on the video lessons of hyperloading nutrients. This right here, more food is your answer for optimal health and wellness. More food. Again, this is all food. There's no poison on this plate, right? So you can eat like a king, a delicious meal that looks like it's fit for a fine dining restaurant. It looks amazing. It smells amazing. It tastes amazing. And it's just absolutely loaded with nutrients, fully Clovis approved. This is an incredible meal. So, yeah, I guess now it's time to eat, right?
Yeah.
Miss Megan.
Looks awesome.
Oh,
You guys have anything for us? Any questions or anything? You want us to talk about anything? Let's see here. We got that window. Ask a question.
Go eat.
Go eat.
Don't let it get cold. Jeez, oh man.
I think there's something from it.
Okay. Well, yeah. You want to read that for me?
Okay, this is great. I do love cooking and use real foods, but I really complicate things. Need more simple ideas. Yeah, it's really nice. Sometimes what I'll do is just look at like paleo cooking websites, or I'll go on like, me and 6 other people in the world are still on Pinterest. And I'll go on Pinterest and look for like paleo cooking ideas. And sometimes you have to tweak them because sometimes they include things that I don't personally like or that don't align with the kinds of things that I eat. But you can look at, you can even look at like just regular recipes. Sometimes it's hard with really conventional recipes to like tweak it to the point where it's good. But yeah, you can find just really incredible things and just tweak them. And it just doesn't take a lot. Like you guys saw, like this is a very simple thing. This is a typical thing that I would make in an evening. And it takes less than an hour to prepare this. It's very, very simple. It's like a relatively cost-effective surf and turf, and every single thing here, like the shrimp is wild caught. It's regenerative pasture-raised beef that we have here, organic carrots. Like you cannot get more salt of the earth kind of ingredient quality than what we have here. And this is a pretty like cost effective and very, very time efficient way to make something that tastes just amazing.
Absolutely. Terry had a great comment. She just said, I made it just in time for the plating, and she's glad we have it recorded. So yeah, definitely go back and take a look at just how simple this was. You know, it's really simple, real food ingredients, guys. What's the entire concept of this whole course, the whole program, what I'm trying to teach you guys is that food is only good for you. Don't be afraid of food. The more food, the better, really assuming that you're hyper loading all these micronutrient dense foods and avoiding those poisons. So that's it, guys. This is dinner bonus number 1. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Thank you, Megan, my beautiful queen, for doing this for everybody. We really appreciate you and we love you. And I only had yellow mustard. Okay, well, I mean, check the ingredients, you know.
Yellow mustard, yeah, if most mustard is actually okay. You check the ingredients and make sure it doesn't have any bad oils in it, but mustard is actually there's a few like conventional foods that if you look at them, they actually tend to be pretty okay. And mustard's one of them because it really is just ground mustard seed. So check the ingredients in the back. If it's a decent quality mustard, it may actually be okay. And if it's not, you can find yourself another one. This concept
for the taste, she's saying, yeah.
Oh, for the
yeah,
taste.
I don't have the fancy French.
Oh yeah, got it. Yeah, this one's
Gotcha.
nice. If you want something that like spices literally and figuratively up your mustard, you can take a little bit of paprika and a little bit of cayenne and put it in your yellow mustard, your mustard cream sauce, and it'll like kick it up a notch. And that little bit of spice will not only make it taste fancier because it's spicier, but it actually brings out kind of that like mustard flavor a little bit more. So
Cool.
if you're into that, like add a little bit of spice in there and it kicks it up a bit.
Amazing. Yeah, this is great. These carrots are, yes, the carrots are amazing. They're so good.
So good.
One of my favorite foods, honestly. They're incredible. And you can play with it too. And the beauty about this too, of just learning, seeing Megan do it this way, is this is another beautiful thing about working with real foods is it's actually quite hard. I feel like you have to go pretty overboard to really destroy a recipe. You know, like, cause you're really working with like butter, some coconut milk, some honey, some salt, pepper, those kinds of things. Like, I feel like you'd have to really go kind of crazy to completely destroy something, you know? So just play with these things, play with the stevia, play with the honey, play with the mustard and the light coconut milk and see what texture you like for your mustard.
A great thing to do too is think about flavor palettes that you like. Like I really love Latin American flavor palettes. And so what I'll do is start with something that feels like, what would I eat? What would be like the most luscious, healthy, decadent thing that I would eat if I were sitting somewhere on the coast of a surf town in Mexico or Costa Rica right now. And so like the shrimp with cilantro and the lime, the paprika really comes from that whole vibe, and creating something that comes out of that concept is ultimately very simple. And I could have actually created all of this being more Latin flavored if I wanted. I make quite a bit of like in the morning, I make a lot of ground beef with a little bit of like avocado, onion, cilantro, and taco type seasonings on it. And it's just very like fresh breakfast in the morning. So just think about the kind of like spice profiles that you like and really play around with different spice combinations. That makes things a lot better. I think people are afraid of spices and afraid of making sauces. And really, if you missed what I said earlier, like the beauty of sauces is just taking a bunch of stuff, sauteing it and blending it. Add things that you like, put spices, heat them up like fresh spices and just like blend them with a little bit of oil and or water. And like, it's very easy to make a sauce. So don't be afraid of spices. Just try some things together, see what you like, see what works. And yeah, it's pretty simple once you get into the groove of things.
Amazing. This is great. Yeah, Terry, have a great time with it. She said she's making it in an hour and she's going to add her own coconut milk to the shrimp too for her own flavors.
Nice.
Exactly that. Play with these ingredients, make it your own and really enjoy it. And the last thing I'll say is you guys should just be really happy that I didn't make videos like this 3 years ago.
He literally was putting sardines in his scrambled eggs. It was foul.
Sardines, scrambled eggs, and some coconut aminos. You know, that was how I was eating, getting those macros in, ladies and gentlemen. But anyway, this is beautiful. I'll finish with the plated delicious meal. Again, super nutrient dense, all whole foods, all delicious. Thank you guys so much for being here for dinner bonus number 1. And we'll see you back here for another recipe. And again, next time this happens, you'll get the recipe, the ingredients you need inside the email. And then you can join us. You can cook along, or you can do what Terry's doing and just come here on see the plating, get excited, and then go cook on your own time. So again, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you, Terry. You have a great night as well. Everybody have a great night. We love you. Thank you for being here.
Bye.
Thank you.